Good morning. I've just gotten out of the shower and I'm going to make some lunch, and then I'm going to head down to the barn to skirt some fleeces, and I thought I'd take you along with me. We finally got shearing done yesterday and it went really well. We were very pleased and I had good helpers, and our new shearer did a good job. So I'm really anxious to get into those fleeces and see how they look. Just had a quick glance yesterday and got them out of the way, and then so I want to get right into them today. I know some of you are waiting for your fleeces, but I'm going to go do that here in a little while, and I thought I'd take the camera with me and see if I could show you my steps, my process for skirting a fleece, right from the sheep to the barn floor to the skirting table, and just show you my way of doing that as we work our way through a year of growing a yarn. So come along with me, and it's a decent day outside, but it's raining, so I can't do yard work, and it'll be a nice day to work in the barn, I hope. So I'll see you in the barn in a short time. Well, I didn't make it down to the barn to start on the fleeces. We're inside watching it rain. Sorry about that, I was waiting for a car to go by. So finally we're going to get a chance to skirt some fleece, and I thought I would try to show you how I do that. Please ignore the ugly propane tank in the background. I like to do this up on my deck because I'm close to Bill in the house if he needs me. I like the natural light, and today is perfect because it's overcast, so I don't have super bright sunlight, but I have good light to see. And we have a fleece. We're going to start with Petoskey, the Ram's Gray Fleece. We have my trusty baby scale that's off by 1 pound, so I always deduct, but it's never failed me. A empty box for skirtings. And hopefully the neighbor kids who've been racing up and down the road on their four-wheelers for the last hour are done. Back and forth and back and forth. Ugh. So much for country living, right? Oh, and here's the lawnmower down here waiting for my daughter to come and pick up. So anyway, let's get skirting some fleece. I'm going to try to set the camera up on the tripod so you can see my hands. Probably will be some starting and stopping, but that's okay. So the first thing that I'm going to do is take this fleece and weigh it. I'll weigh it before I skirt it, and then I'll weigh it again after I skirt it. So that's what we're going to do first. So I'm going to show you the fleece out here on the table before I move it so that you can see my hands. First of all, he has just a divine fleece. And it was coated, so it shouldn't be too much waste. There's some darker shades. But I don't know if you can see, pick some of these out. We were real happy and real glad to get the shearer that we got, and he was very efficient. But he did do a lot of second cuts. So we're going to work our hardest to get those out. You see? And a second cut is when the shearer makes a pass and then goes over again to kind of level things out. And so you get these little short bits. And those of you who've worked with fleece before know what a pain those are. I'll be able to shake some of them out. and I'll pick out as much as I can. But for those of you buying fleeces, I'm going to let you know that we're going to have a lot of second cuts this year. Now this table is not really big enough for a whole fleece. I used to have an actual skirting table. I hope we don't have to listen to Penny this whole time. If anybody's looking for a nice coming 2-year-old Corriedale ewe, she's going to be for sale, or she's for sale now. She is just never quiet, and that is a reason to call for me. So she's looking for a new home. Anyway, back to the fleece. But that skirting table I had was really a pain. It was hard to move. It was almost too big. I had to lean way over to reach the center of it. So I just make do on this old bed spring from a baby bed, and I like it really well. Sometimes on a bigger fleece I do have to split the fleece in half. And I'm going to say too, because I know some of you who've worked with fleece before, you like buying those fleeces that are just in a nice tight bundle that looks like it came right off the sheep and it's rolled right up, just like you peeled the skin off the sheep. Ours won't come like that. I open the fleece up, I skirt it, partly because it's on this small table, but also because I just like to go through it. So you're not going to get a nice blanket looking type of fleece. So just to also state that up front. So that's all I can think of to say right now. You're seeing the cut side of the fleece, what's next to the skin. So that's the cleaner part. And then, you know, there's a piece of straw there that we'll pick out. When we flip it over, even though he was coated, you're going to see the dirtier side. So, all right, I've probably talked long enough. Let me flip this over and get started on this fleece before it starts raining. Okay, I think I've got this where you can see it. I've got this opened up, and I think what we're seeing right here is along his side, because there is some chaff, the stuff that would be along the side from where he lays, but not manure, not the wet manure stuff that would be at his back end. Let's see if I can show this to you. Is that, yeah, that you're probably seeing. So that's probably along his side. This is really clean up here. So I'm thinking that this is along his upper side and his back. And here on the side, where would have been the lower sides that would have been sticking out, it's dirty and it's a little bit matted. So I take this away so that you guys aren't buying this part. This is pretty clean, but it's something I'll pick through. Because look how pretty underneath. So that'll go off here to the side for me to keep. And then I can shake this and you're probably going to see some of the second cuts. Boy, look at them, it's like snowfall. I'm going to have to go through this again. And there, like there's a place that was kind of rubbed up and in there. And because we don't coat them until we start feeding hay, there's still going to be some vegetable matter from earlier in the year, but nothing too bad. I'll pull out a few places and I'll measure them for the average staple length. But you can kind of see why, partly to get this to fit on the table, but partly because of the way I go through it and the way I pull the more contaminated parts out, why you're not going to get a fleece that's just all one solid piece. I don't know if maybe when I start the next one, maybe I can lay it out so you can see, you know, what the whole fleece looks like. Where's the neck? Where's the back? Now I'm surprised he's got trying to think, when did I put him? Oh, I know, because his coat was off when he was breeding. So he's got a little bit more straw and stuff in his fleece than what maybe we would see. That's right. Because especially with the younger lambs, you don't want that coat to impede their progress for breeding. So this part is pretty well picked through, and I'm hoping it's showing on the camera a little bit, his different colors, and I hope you can hear me. I forget I'm not right there close. I need to talk a little louder. You see the colors? He's gorgeous. So I will separate this. This is pretty well clean. I'm going to give it another shake. And look, even still more coming down. And then now it is together enough that I'll roll it so that the outer tips are to the inside. And I may give his another skirting after it airs out a little bit. There's so much lanolin that it's really sticky. And I think I could get some more of those second cuts off once it's... Look at this, will be closer up to the front. You see, can you see the crimp on that and the color? Oh, it's glorious. I can't wait to sample some of this. So this will go into a clean bag. And we'll pull some more out here to work on. See what we have here. See, there's the lanolin is it's so sticky, it doesn't even want to unroll. Now this is really clean, probably more up towards the front. A little bit of wet there, not poop just from laying in the manure. A lot of second cuts. This is almost like lace. I'm gonna pause and pick this up and show you this up a little bit closer to show you the tips. I showed you the cut side before, plus a big tractor's coming down the road and that's gonna be noisy. So I'm gonna pause for a minute. Let's hope you can hear me over the tractor because he's just sitting in the road for some reason. So this is the fleece with the tip up. So this was under the coat, and you can see that it's still a little dirty, but it's strong. There's some more of the second cuts. Look at the crimp on that fleece. Oh my word. I hope he's passing that on to his lambs. Here. It's just gorgeous. Here's some of the dirtier parts that we'll be getting to here shortly. Look at the color and the crimp and the shine on that. And it looks like he's averaging about 5 inches. So then I'll flip this over and try to get more second cuts out. And then we'll be back and finish this up. Try to continue, and I'm going to try to talk a little bit louder. I double checked and I kind of come and go, so I'll try to talk a little bit louder and we'll try to be a little fast because I think we might have rain coming. So this really fine part right here, very clean. I didn't have much to take out of it. You can see the snowfall of the second cuts. Boy, there's a lot of them. But how pretty is that? So this goes in the saleable box for whoever is buying this fleece, and it is reserved. This one is already spoken for. And we'll get to the next part. We may find some manure in this part, so I apologize if you see something that offends you. Now like this is not manure. This is where he laid in the wet, but that'll go over in the pile that I'll go through myself. Or keep for myself. Here's some more of it here. It's right along the edge, like where it would have come out under his blanket or under his coat, and he would have laid and got wet. It'll wash up. But I don't like to ship it to a customer either, because like if you were coming here to the farm and buying it and you wanted it, that would be different. But to ship it, it's wet, it's going to take a long time to dry. I don't want to put that in an enclosed box, and also that's weight that you're paying for, and I don't want you to have to do that. So that's where I get a lot of the fleece that I keep, is the skirtings. Now if you all were coming here to the farm and you could look through it yourself and you wanted to take it, then you certainly could. But you're paying for postage. I don't want you to pay for something that you aren't going to need or that's going to cause you problems. Yeah, he's really clean here. Hardly any chaff or vegetable matter along here. That's all good. I'll get it all going the right way. Here again, probably up along his legs. That was another thing, and next time I'll just have to say something to this shearer. When he was shearing, he pulled away the belly wool and tossed that aside, but some of this that's up along the legs and the chest could have got tossed aside as well. But I'm not complaining. We were just so glad to have him, and he was very kind to the sheep. Very kind to the sheep, and like I said, very efficient. He didn't make them wait a long time. Just really happy. This is all stuff I can handle myself, so I would never let that stop me from having him come back, because I sure appreciated him. Now here's where this was just kind of twisted up when it got picked up off of the barn floor. So I've got to get it all going the right way. There we go. And I'm letting that kind of hang off the side because that's some pretty dirty stuff. And if this falls off, I've got the deck down below me and also grass. So if I have to go and retrieve it, it'll be all right. Here's more from his sides because I can see that it's pretty dirty. Not dirty, has quite a lot of VM. So that's going to come out, I would guess, this may have been his neck. You can see. And it's real fine, and the neck wool tends to be really fine. And you know, he doesn't have a bad ram smell. I don't think the Corriedales do. I've had some other breeds that were pretty strong smelling. And some of the primitive breeds, some of the unimproved breeds that friends have raised, I don't know, sometimes it's even hard to get that smell out. But so this is pretty good here. That's pretty dirty. So this is, I am going to say, the back end. Set that down here. And we'll try to work at this. Keep it in as much of one piece as we can. He has a lot of lanolin. It's a really fine wool, but his fleece for a ram, of course he's just a yearling, is fairly light. So what do you guys think? I wish you were here helping me skirt. That would be fun. What do you think of our process? Is it similar to what you do or what you've seen done? It's a joy to do when it's like this, to me, anyway. And I'm so pleased that I took the time, having the fewer number of sheep, to have them coated, because it's just so much faster. I should pull out one of the uncoated fleeces from last year, just to show you the difference. Now I would say with him, his crimp is pretty consistent throughout. He's got a little bit here, and this may have been along a side where it's kind of rubbed, so not quite as fine. I don't care if a fleece is not as consistent throughout. You know, it wouldn't win in a fleece judging contest, but I don't mind if I have a fleece that is that way. Now here he's got some white, so I'm thinking this is from his front end. He's lighter in the front, color-wise. And also, as much crimp as there is right here, that's probably the neck wool. And I'm looking at it, and it's pretty dirty. I'll show you here in just a second. Dirty as in kind of muddy. So when he laid, you know, some of that was sticking out. One year I had a girl, a woman, from Alberta, I think she was. And she wanted to buy all the neck wool because she liked the fineness of it. So see how this was probably sticking out from underneath the coat. It's kind of rubbed, it's been wet, and there's vegetable matter. This was probably up around the neck. It's really lacy, but wet. It's not wet right now, but it has been. So I'll keep that. So this fleece is done. How about that? I love having my hands in it. This is my thing. Lambing is not. There may come a day that I don't lamb, but financially we need to do it for right now. But the fleece is my thing. Okay, so we're going to get this turned back over. up. Oh, more second cuts. You know, and if I were processing this all myself and by hand from start to finish, it wouldn't be quite as bad with the second cuts because they would come out with combing. Oh, there's a dirty spot I missed. All right, I'll show you what we're going to do next. All right, so the next thing that I did is I took his name card and I pulled out a few sections of fleece and I measured, an average staple length is pretty much 5 inches. And I record on the back of his card that was 10 pounds unskirted. After I skirted it away, what I skirted away, there's 6.5 pounds to sell. I've got about 2 pounds for myself. That was the dirtier parts, and then the rest was what was skirted away that'll go on for compost because it was the manure and such. And so then I recorded the staple length, the crimp, and that this was his first shearing. So this was his lamb fleece. And then got his name on the other side. So that's it for him, and then we're on to our next fleece. What do you think? Is there any questions that you... All the colors in one fleece. This is Petoskey again, and this is the dirtier stuff that I kept for myself. You know, I was calling his a very fine crimp, but this is actually a lot more traditional Corriedale, isn't it? So I think we're going to change that. He's got on the finer side, but this is the Corriedale I remember from being a kid. And here's the thing about Corriedale, I think. These days, fine wool seems to have kind of a... it's fallen out of favor, and that's okay. And there's a lot of interest in the long wools and the primitive breeds, and I like it too. But the thing about Corriedale is you get a fineness, a softness, but a little bit more strength. It's not as mushy, is a word I think of sometimes with merino and cormo or rambouillet. Corriedale, I think, falls in between that and the strength of Romney, the strength and crimp of Romney. I think it falls in between those. So you've got a staple length and you've got a crimp. Well-defined crimp, blunt tips, but it's a little bit finer hand than Romney and a little bit stronger hand than merino or cormo. Definitely more than rambouillet. So I think it's a wool that you ought to try. I'm partial to it, not because I raise it. I raise it because I'm partial to it. If I didn't raise it, I'd be looking to buy it. What are your thoughts that way? Well, the rain's getting more serious now, so I better get this inside or leave it out here for the rain to wash. Might do that. come out now, and so probably this is blowing out the camera, I don't know, but this is a white fleece. This is actually from Penny, who we were speaking of before. She's a yearling Corriedale ewe, so this was her first shearing as well, and hers is not reserved, so if anybody's looking for a nice white Corriedale fleece, again, really fine crimp. See, I think my shadow's probably getting here, but I'll record a little bit of this, but I imagine I'm probably just going to have to take some photos to show you. So I think I can't really see, the sun so bright. But I'm going to go ahead and get hers skirted up real quick. Quite a bit more dense than the gray ram lambs was. Real clean, a lot of lanolin, and very fine crimp. And now on her fleece, let me see if I can show you. We'll see how this does, or if it's going to blow out too much. This was under the coat, but just from moisture and the dirt that collects. That will wash out. The staple is strong. Let's see if I can show you here. Let's see, can you hear? So it's strong. The very tips are dry. Those would come off, but hardly. So this would be a beautiful fleece for someone to work with. Again, I'm seeing the second cuts, and they're kind of hard to get out of a white fleece. A white fleece and a really dark fleece more. They don't show as well. I'm anxious to wash up a sample of hers to show you. But if anybody's looking for a nice white fleece, get in touch with me. I'll have it skirted and weighed up here shortly. Well, my camera is almost out of battery and memory, so I'm going to go ahead and shut that off, but I did want to show you some of that. Now look here where she's even brighter white down here, but really dirty on the other side. This is what happens where you don't coat the fleeces. You see that? Yeah, a mess. All right, I'm going to get back to work. Got a great day for doing this. Well, now you got everybody else coming in noisy. Yeah? You could have been in here by yourself for just a treat. I've been had. Hi, Hannah. Hi, Hannah. Penny. Let's see. Weezer. Hilda. Hi, buddy. Hey, buddy. There's Petoskey. Let's see who else. Kelly. And Naomi. It's one of Kelly's lambs. One of only 3 colored lambs. Oh, I know know they're not going to show up with the glare of the light, but I'm getting chewed out by the pair of swallows. You hear them? Their nest is actually, oh, I can't get it in the picture, but it's down at this end. Barn swallow nest. Well, I just wanted to take a few minutes. This is the next day from the video I was showing you before, skirting fleece. And this is the other place that I do skirt fleece, in the barn. And that's a bigger piece of expanded metal that I can spread the fleece out on. It's kind of hard on my back to stand down here on the cement, and it's a little bit farther from Bill, so I don't like it quite as well. But when you have, today we've had rain, thunderstorms, now the sun has come out, but the wind's gusting up to like 30 miles an hour. And I wanted to get a few more fleeces done. So here I have a bigger table, but a smaller fleece. This is Sushi's Finn sheep fleece. I just took it out of the bag. I haven't spread it out yet. So I'll spread it out and then share some pictures of that with you. And that one is not for sale. So let me pause for a minute and get it spread out so that we can take a look at it. And speaking of Sushi, here she is, still waiting to have her lambs. It's hot now and muggy. She must have had a rebreeding, because she bred early. But didn't ya? What's holding those babies up? I'm glad you guys got sheared last week, aren't you? Yeah. And we can look out the barn door and see the horses out in the big pasture right now. Part of our pasture rotation. And here's the Quad sisters. Even little Tiny, who is the one right behind her mama, isn't doing too bad. And Ninja's back is looking really good. So, back to skirting. What, are you going to help me skirt, please? Hi, little Tiny. Look how wet I don't know, maybe you can't tell, but the barn floor is really wet from the rain coming in the door last night. Ooh, look, they glow. So here is Sushi's fleece opened up on this particular skirting table. She was coated too. Up here is the neck. Would have come off of her right along here. Now with the Finn sheep, it's funny, their neck wool is not, at least for the two I have, their neck wool is not the finer parts. As you can see, that would have been out from underneath the coat. And you can see the chaff and the VM. And then we'll move, you're going to probably get some of my shadow from the light, I apologize. We move down the back where she was coated. Some of the second cuts. But see how clean that is. And she has some dark colors and some pretty silvery gray. So I'm going to focus. In here in the basement of the barn, the light's a little funny. And then this is the back end, and we know this from the poop, which needs to get skirted away. So I just wanted to show you that we do have a backup set up for when the weather outside isn't nice enough to skirt the fleece. Okay, so I've done my skirting, and I actually had very little to skirt. There's the manure parts from the back end, and since I'm keeping this for myself, I didn't have to worry about taking away so much of the sides and separating it like I would if I were going to sell this fleece. But so I did flip it over so I can work on getting the second cuts, where the second cuts out. So I wanted to show you the difference of the, you know, when it was cut side, now it's cut side up, and before it was the tips up. But that, like, just like I thought, that was the neck. Obviously we knew the back was the poopy part. Can tell this is the middle of her back. You saw what I was taking the video of her. She has that freckle in the middle of her back, that dark spot, and right there it is. And doesn't this look like a completely different fleece flipped over? It looks a little nondescript from the other side, and then you flip it over and look at the variety of color that you have, from black to charcoal to silver gray to nearly, it's not white, but it's really, really pale silver, and then back to dark again. An ombre fleece, I guess, huh? And she doesn't have, it's not a tremendous amount of crimp. You know, the fin is different, but I'm sure it's going to be beautiful. And some of this neck wool is a little bit crimpier. And I know I've bought Finn fleeces in the past from different breeders, so I know, you know, I know there's a difference. Staple length is pretty consistent for her. So I'm excited to get into this. Like I told you, Ninja hasn't really given me a good fleece in the 2 years that I've had her. This would be, unless they clipped her before I got her, this would be, no, this would be Sushi's second shearing, I think. I'll have to take a look. But anyway, there's my time of skirting the Finn fleece. Not long curly locks, shorter and finer than some other Finn that I've had, but very pretty, isn't it? Don't you just love those dark parts? Like, it would be fun to wash this and then just pull out locks and spin them as they came. Maybe I'll do that. I love this. Okay. I'll say goodbye from the barn now.